Picture this, your next trip, Utah, 5 national parks.
A decade ago, the Utah Tourism Department started their new Mighty 5 ad campaign advertising Utah's 5 national parks. Tourism surged, helped in part with the popularity of Instagram and internet influencer culture, to the delight and dismay of many. Regardless of how people feel about the ad campaign, one thing it sure did was draw people to the 5 national parks: Arches, Bryce, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, and Zion. Each is well deserving of the attention and wonder they get. They're literal natural wonders of the world, each in their own right. And each is a fantastic vacation destination in itself. But can you do all 5 in a single day?
This is Life Elevated, the Mighty 5. 5 iconic parks, 1 epic experience.
I recently had the option to try it out myself. We were booked for a 2-night stay in Moab and 2 nights in Virgin, Utah. Even though in my mind this was a Moab-Zion trip, there would be 1 day in between where we had to drive across the state. So why not test the 5 parks in 1 day itinerary out? The rules of the trip were that we had to do more than just step a single foot in each park. We had to at least go to an overlook or a trailhead, far less than it deserved, but at least we saw a part of the park. Besides the parks, we'd be passing through some of the most beautiful landscapes Utah has to offer, skirting around the San Rafael Swell, all of Scenic Highway 12, and down Old Highway 89, the National Park Highway. The day starts early. Sunrise from Courthouse Wash and Arches is always fantastic, and was only 15 minutes from the hotel. On the way out, we had to get the obligatory photo at the park sign. Before leaving Moab to begin the drive, we swing by Sweet Cravings Bistro, quickly becoming my new favorite breakfast and lunch place in Moab. The food is fantastic, and they can make you lunch to go early in the day so you can take it with you on the trail. Canyonlands is great because it's right next to Moab as well, but on our way over we stopped to see the TV sheep and intestine man native art. The sheep are petroglyphs pecked into the rocks by the Fremont people, and the intestine man, a painted pictograph from the Barrier Canyon people before them. The canyons around Moab are filled with native rock art, and pathways between Horseshoe Canyon and the La Salles have a lot of Barrier Canyon art, likely painted as they would migrate back and forth between summer and winter residents. Island in the Sky of Canyonlands National Park is a large area well served by roads to all the various overlooks and hikes. Driving into the park, see if the air is clear enough to spot the Henry Mountains to the southwest. They're an easy to spot navigational point. We'll see most of the trip to get an idea of where we are. We headed out to the Neck and Schaefer Trail Overlook. The Neck is a narrow spit of land only 32 feet wide connecting the mesa to the surrounding terrain. The Schaefer switchbacks take you to the Schaefer Trail, the start of Canyonlands White Rim Road, and continues past Potash back to Moab. Every warning is made because somebody did it at some point. Please don't poop on the floor. Two parks down and we begin the long drive. Skipping the criminally overpriced gas in Crescent Junction, we head to Green River, Utah. Green River is known for the melons grown here, and pre-internet it used to also get a lot of tourism travel, but these days everybody is bouncing between super famous touristy spots rather than just exploring some of the more remote areas of interest. But I shouldn't judge, that is exactly what we're doing today. However, the book cliffs around here are gorgeous, native rock art sites abound, and the city is the starting point for one of the best flatwater river rafting trips in the US. Instead of heading into the San Rafael Swell, we turn south going down along its east side with the dramatic Sawtooth Ridges to our right. Along the way passing Goblin Valley State Park, another great side trip that deserves a few days on its own. At a rocky viewpoint along the highway, there are some viewing scopes that identify the odd rock formations around you. Unfortunately, they fixed the factory butt sign sometime in the last couple years. Another break in Hanksville, Utah. You can stop for snacks at the interesting Hollow Mountain gas station, although their gas usually runs a bit high as well. And as we head west again, there's a great welded art installation at Carl's Critter Garden, which gets bigger and more intricate every year. Leaving Hanksville, you head into the Badlands and mesas around Factory Butte. Officially known as the Blue Hills, this area has been getting very popular in the last couple years. This interesting area is made up of moisture-sensitive swelling clays, formed by the aeration of volcanic ash during the Jurassic Age. When wet, it swells up into gloopy, slick mud that stops all vehicle travel, then contracts again when dry, leaving an odd popcorn-like texture. The other side effect is that the expansion and contraction does a better job at erasing footprints and tire tracks than the rest of the desert. Good thing too, because most of this was recently expanded as Swing Arm City Open Ride Area. I'm a big advocate of treading lightly and believe you should always stick to the trail like glue and not damage the very delicate ecosystems on each side of the trail. But the open ride area is one of the areas you can go wherever you want, no restrictions. It leads to tire tracks all over the place that always mess up the photographs I'm trying to take, but after a wet winter, all but the deepest ruts are almost erased by the odd properties of the dirt here. We come into Capitol Reef from the less traveled east entrance. Driving through the park from this direction is driving backwards through time in rock layers laid down through the reign of the dinosaurs. As the canyons get deeper, you're going further and further into the geologic past, starting at the Cretaceous and ending up at the Triassic. The petrified ripples you see in the rocks are from the shallow inland seas and estuaries that the dinosaurs walked. The large shaded park around the historic town of Fruita is a perfect place to stop for lunch. And if you visit in the fall, the cottonwoods turn golden colors, only rivaled by the colors of the fruit tree blossoms in the spring. Coming out of Capitol Reef, we hit Torrey. It used to be one of the more sleepy tourist towns on a national park border, but in the last few years, tourism is really waking the town up. Most of the shops and restaurants were only seasonal, but much of the town is open year-round now. There are more options to eat and more places to sleep. At the recommendation of some good friends, we got some ice cream at the Color Ridge Farm and Creamery. You can get a flight of ice cream with unique and interesting flavors. The juniper berry ice cream was fantastic, and very fitting in the desert southwest where they're so plentiful. Heading south, you start Highway 12, one of the most scenic drives in the US. First heading up to the alpine terrain of the mountains, and then down into the deserts of the Escalante portion of Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. The drive skirting Boulder Mountain has the most amazing views west into the long southern tail of Capitol Reef National Park, with the Henry Mountains rising majestically behind. The Henry Mountains are a result of magma uplift that likely never broke the surface as an ancient volcano. Now they stand over the Colorado Plateau like a tent pole for the desert. They also host only one of 3 genetically purebred bison herds on public land in the United States. And home to the Hell's Backbone Grill, one of the best fine dining restaurants you'll find out in the middle of nowhere. Boulder used to be one of the most isolated towns in the US. The first road from Escalante to Boulder along Hell's Backbone was built in 1933 but was seasonal. Mules delivered winter mail until 1940, and they didn't get electric power until 1947. In 1950, Highway 12 was a dirt road from Torrey to Bryce Canyon and wasn't fully paved until the late 1980s. It's not a long drive from Boulder to Escalante, but we have to drive down the Hogsback, a narrow strip of road winding down the ridge with drop-offs on each side. This section of highway was once called the $1 Million Highway. It was completed over the course of 5 years in 1940 by the Civilian Conservation Corps to provide a year-round road linking Boulder to Escalante and the rest of the world. At the bottom is the popular and often super crowded trailhead to Calf Creek Falls. Being a large national monument, you can bet this entire area is packed with things to see and do, many not documented anywhere online or in books. An entire week could be spent hiking and driving this area, and you'd still only see a small part of what it has to offer. One of my favorite views is that Head of the Rocks overlook, looking back over the brutal, twisted, and complex landscape that make up the National Monument. I could stand up here for hours just imagining all the little secrets hidden in each side canyon and crevice, with the ever-present Henry Mountains on the horizon. We pass through Escalante and see some of the cliff dwellings high above the road. We're past the range of the Barrier Canyon people, and this granary is thought to be the remnants of the ancestral Puebloan people at the western edge of their land. The ancestral Puebloans would later migrate through Bears Ears to Mesa Verde, and then down to the Pueblos of New Mexico, where their descendants still live today. We further drop down out of the mesas past Powell Point and the Blues. The distinctive Powell Point is another easily recognizable landmark you can see from all over the area to get your bearings. Just as the Henrys disappear from distance, we have Powell Point to navigate from. The flatlands around Henryville and Tropic are interesting in their own right. South of here is Kodachrome Basin State Park and the Grand Staircase portion of Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. But instead of heading south, we head north along the feet of Bryce Canyon National Park. Much of Bryce Canyon can be seen with just a short detour off Highway 12. Bryce Canyon City, at the mouth of the park, used to be just a bunch of holdings by Ruby's Inn and a few restaurants. But the area has been growing fast, and now many hotels and campgrounds are in the area. It's also great because the Bryce Canyon shuttle comes all the way out here, so you can avoid traffic and not add to traffic. There's also an excellent bike trail from the hotels all the way to Inspiration Point inside the park. Along with Zion, Bryce is one of the old classic national parks when they used to build much more amenities in the park like a lodge, general store, and gas station. Today the National Park Service is more oriented towards minimizing the impact in the parks rather than turning them into resort destinations. So these old gas stations and lodges are historic buildings of a time when tourism into nature was new. Although, as I learned making another video, still surprisingly similar to the tourism surge today. The day is getting long and we were slowing down. My bad ankle had gone out on me on Boulder Mountain, so while I took pictures from the rim, my girlfriend headed below the rim to check out the Wall Street switchbacks. We continue to the end of Highway 12, passing through Red Canyon, often referred to as the Mini Bryce and ran by the National Forest Service, or as most of us know it, that place with tunnels you drive through. Unfortunately, that's the most any of us see of this beautiful area. The crowds are much less down here because everybody passes it up heading for Bryce. I definitely need to make a point to come here soon. I haven't vacationed here since I was a kid. South on Highway 89 is a fun drive in itself. Highway 89 was one of the main north and south artery highways before the freeways came along, much like old Route 66 was going across the nation. Except this one passed or went through Glacier, Yellowstone, Grand Teton, Bryce, Zion, and Grand Canyon National Parks, giving it the nickname the National Park Highway. And much like the older highways from back in the day when automobile mileage was low and speed limits were lower, there were a bunch of small towns that functioned as gas stations and motel stops for the travelers. Although most have long since transitioned, mostly now just some locals and a place for the rest of us to stop and get some snacks. But it's a great highway to slowly travel down if you want to recapture the old feeling of what it was like before the interstate freeways sped our lives up so much. Finally, with the sun getting low on the horizon, we enter the east side of Zion National Park. Winding along the road sliced into the rolling slick rock checkerboards, you can't be in much of a hurry. Definitely take your time and stop at whatever empty pullout you can to take in the complex landscape. Passing through the Zion Tunnel and out the bottom of the park, we stopped in Springdale for dinner as the sun set. It was an exhausting day, and it felt like we were driving past so many great things to see in our push to make it through everything in a day. If you try to hit all the parks like this at once, you're going to feel like you're missing out and just seeing glimpses of everything through the car window rather than getting out there and experiencing it. It's much better to make your whole trip about 1 or 2 parks maximum if you can, but I understand that some people just may not have the luxury to do that. So if you have to cram it all into a day, this is definitely a gorgeous way to see all 5 parks that Utah has to offer. But I have to warn you, it's only going to wet your whistle. You're going to be wanting to plan another 10 vacations to the area to see everything that you had to drive past in your rush to make it across the state in a day. So did I get to see everything I wanted to in this drive? Not even close, but I saw a sampling of some of the most amazing things this planet has to offer, all in one day. It was exhausting, and it was also fantastic. And it gives me so many ideas for what I want to see next time. I just got done editing the video. I wanted to put this little addendum at the end of it. I'm going to start putting Patreon links at the end of all the videos. I think what I'm going to put on there is GPS maps of the video and all the points of interest along the way. Not just what was in the video, but the 95% of the stuff that we didn't go to or we didn't see or got edited out. All the stuff is things I've found online, found from other photographers taking pictures, stuff from all these tour guide books from all ages. Old maps I found. There's a lot of information in there. 100% of all the money that comes in through that is going to go straight into making more videos with more places to see. And so if you want links to all the places and secret places I found along the way, click on the Patreon button. And if you're not interested in doing that, thank you for watching anyway. Thank you.